My mother-in-law sat on the living room floor, phone in her hand, and smiled like she'd won. Beside her was a stack of printed emails with my name circled. Ethan looked at me and said, "I can't trust you anymore." Pause. After that moment, everything went sideways. Ethan and I had been married 3 years. He was calm by nature. He was not a man who shouted. But the look he gave me then was hollow. I felt my legs go weak. My hands were shaking. I couldn't breathe. Ethan's parents, June and Rick Harper, had moved in temporarily in March 2019 after Rick lost his job at the factory. They told us they wanted to help while they got back on their feet. We agreed. Our mortgage payment was $1,450 a month. We thought having help with groceries and cooking would keep us afloat. The truth was different. June was as precise as a tax form and twice as cold. She resented the fact I worked full-time at a tech startup while Ethan cut back to spend time with me and our cat, Olive. June made jokes at family dinners about me bossing her son around. Rick started handing Ethan mail and invoices telling him we were overspending. I shrugged it off at first. I thought it was normal in-law jealousy. It escalated slowly, like rust. Small things. June rearranged my tools and hid my keys. Rick called Ethan at work and read him a list of supposed late-night charges on my credit card, charges that did not exist. Then they started planting evidence. One night in October 2020, Ethan found a text thread on his phone. The screenshot showed a message from my number at 2:13 a.m. on September 28. "I'm done. I'm leaving you." He confronted me in the kitchen with it. I stared at the screen. I had been home with a migraine and in bed at 9:30 p.m. I knew the timestamps were impossible. I felt something cold climb into my chest. Ethan let me explain, but June and Rick had already done something worse. They had printed emails I never wrote and left them on the dining table. One was titled Divorce Plan, Step 2, with my email address forged at the top. They'd taken photographs of private messages between Ethan and his sister, cropped them, and implied I was the antagonist. Ethan began to doubt me. I saw the way his jaw tightened. He kept saying, "You have to prove it." I promised I would. I started looking for proof. I kept my anger small and careful. I hired a private investigator, John Morales, on November 6, 2020. He charged $3,500 up front. John trailed Rick and June for 3 weeks. He found what I needed: a USB stick June had used to store forged documents, receipts for a photo editing service dated August 15 for $120, and an email from a burner account to Rick at 10:02 a.m. on September 25, files attached. Use with discretion. S. John sent me copies. The turning point was a stupid little thing. June left her phone unlocked on the coffee table when she went to make tea. On November 22, I saw a voice memo open, one labeled Plan E. I hit play. The memo was June's voice, crisp and unbothered. "We can't just watch them be smug any longer," she said, 32 seconds in. "He listens to her more than he listens to us now. We make him see. Print the emails, send the late-night texts. Ethan will sign once it looks like she's unstable. He'll sign for the house and move out. We'll get the grandchildren on our schedule. It's just a nudge." My stomach flipped. I felt feverish and cold at the same time. Pause. I recorded the memo with my phone. My fingers were numb. I sent it to John. He said, "That's probable cause for harassment and fraud." I felt less alone for the first time in weeks. But I didn't want a courtroom drama to be the only revenge. I wanted them to feel the exact humiliation they tried to give me. I wanted Ethan to see their faces when the truth came out. I set a trap that matched their own meanness. Step 1, I told Ethan I couldn't live with the suspicion, and I was moving into my sister's place for a few weeks. He believed it. I packed a bag, but stayed in our house past midnight, behind the living room curtain, camera in hand. Step 2, I staged a fake file, a printed, very real-looking email titled Finalized Divorce Now, with a forged signature line that said it came from me. I left it on the coffee table where June always placed evidence. Step 3, I invited June and Rick over for what I called a family meeting on December 3, 2020 at 7 p.m. I sent Ethan a short text, "Talk to them." I left to clear my head. "It's on you." He nodded and left the room. June arrived at 6:55 p.m., carrying a Tupperware of casserole. Rick followed, carrying a thermos. They sat down, and June noticed the paper and picked it up with a slow smile. I kept my recorder running. I had a second backup camera hidden above the bookshelf. John was waiting 20 minutes away in his car to take statements and secure physical evidence if needed. June's smile widened. "Finally," she said, reading aloud. She signed. "I knew it." She tossed the paper to Rick like it was a trophy. Rick laughed. "Told you." We pushed, and it worked. They clinked coffee mugs. They started listing the other things they'd done, small details like the burner account at 10:02 a.m., the $120 Photoshop job, the late-night fake text I already knew about. They joked about it like gardeners swapping tips. Then June said something that made my blood run cold. "You should have seen Ethan when I told him about the bank transfer. He almost called the lawyer. He cried a little, remember? Worth every penny." I couldn't stay behind the curtain anymore. I stood up. Ethan's face when he turned was unreadable. I walked into the room holding my phone with the voice memo ready to play. "You have recordings of us?" June asked, suddenly thin-lipped. "I have a voice memo where you planned this. I have the receipts John found. I have your email to Rick at 10:02 a.m. I have the burner account screenshots. I have everything." My voice did not shake. I felt like I had been underwater and finally found air. June's face went white. Rick's hands curled into fists. "You were trying to make my husband sign the house over? To take our life?" Ethan said slowly. "Is this true?" June laughed, a small high thing. "You always take her side. But you've got to admit, she was hard to." She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. John walked in that moment and clicked on a small device. He held up the USB stick June had left in the kitchen drawer. "We have video and audio, ma'am. Are you ready to explain these payments?" June tried to salvage it. She begged. She said she only wanted what was best for her son. Rick tried to blame June for everything. I played the voice memo out loud. It filled the room, tight and undeniable. June's voice said the words she had hoped would never be on record. Pause. Ethan sat down on the couch and hid his face in his hands. Tears came out of him without sound. That sight was worse than any victory. I folded. I didn't want to win if it meant breaking him. We handed everything to the lawyer John recommended, Lisa Juan, on December 7, 2020. Lisa filed a restraining order and a civil suit for defamation and harassment. The suit listed explicit damages, $8,200 in legal fees we'd already paid to find the truth and $3,600 in costs related to counseling and lost wages after Ethan missed 2 weeks of work while he processed the betrayal. In court we had the voice memo, the receipts, the burner account emails, and John's investigator notes. June and Rick were shocked at the gravity of it. They had assumed we would quietly dissolve, or Ethan would sign a paper and be back to them. They did not expect documentation, lawyers, or public record. They settled out of court in March 2021. The settlement required them to move out within 30 days, pay $4,000 toward our legal fees, and post a written apology to our immediate family group chat admitting their role. They also agreed to no contact with Ethan for 6 months. Their apology was short and humiliating. "We were wrong," it read, with poor punctuation. Family members who had been on the fence saw the records and withdrew. A cousin texted Ethan, "If they treat you like that, they treat my kids the same." We took our time after that. Therapy wasn't a box to tick. We spent money on couples counseling, $150 per session, and on a week away in June 2021 where we turned our phones off and relearned how to be a couple without the murmur of suspicion from the next room. We cried. We fought. We learned to set boundaries and to say no out loud. June and Rick tried to patch things weeks later. June called once from her sister's landline and left a voicemail apologizing between sobs. Ethan did not call back. He texted me, "I need time." I didn't push. I loved him, that meant I let him heal. The aftermath was not perfect, but it was honest. June and Rick lost their place in our home, in my husband's daily life, and in a family that had once been close. They paid $4,000 out of pocket and left town. Their friends called them petty. A few months later, June posted a vague apology on Facebook that got 2 likes. As for me, I lost months of peace. My sleep schedule collapsed. I still jump sometimes when a text comes in from an unknown number. But I gained something immovable, proof that if you fight smart and legally, you can stop people who weaponize family. I also learned how fragile trust is. The worst part wasn't the lies, it was watching Ethan's face when he realized his parents had pulled the strings. It took longer to heal that than to win the court case. We instituted hard rules: no overnight guests without both of us agreeing, no shared passwords with family, no private financial access. We started a locked household binder for mail and bills. We learned how to build fences that keep people out without becoming cold. Sometimes I still think about June's voice on that memo. She sounded vindicated in the way someone does when they believe the world owes them something. I don't know if she ever felt real remorse. Ethan and I celebrated our 5th anniversary quietly in 2022. We had no in-laws at the table. Olive sat on my lap. We toasted with cheap champagne in the living room where they had once plotted. It felt small. It felt enough. What would you have done if your in-laws tried to destroy your marriage out of jealousy? Pause.